Well, good afternoon and welcome into the Forget Me Not Village Streamcast. I'm your host, Brian Prowitz, and today, as promised, so excited to have on the program, she said not to say this when I introduced her, the world famous Teepa Snow joining us here on the Forget Me Not Village Streamcast. How are you, Teepa?
I am good. How are you, Brian?
Well, great. And we are very happy to have you on the program today, where people, by the way, can ask questions and make comments throughout the program. And we want to talk about dementia care. We want to talk about the Forget Me Not Village. We're going to talk about Pam a little bit. And the best part is right now, Pam isn't with us to defend herself.
It's a great time to talk about people when you get put on all the committees, right?
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations. You've been made the president of our board. So, oh, really? Where was I when that happened? So, first of all, everybody out there can look up Teepa Snow and see your bio, but you have such a deep history and a deep knowledge and an incredible passion to teach what you know to people anywhere in the world. And your impact on Pam has been something very special, which we can get into. But first, talk about a little bit about your background. Give us your impossible to do 30-second bio on Teepa Snow.
Yeah. So, well, I'm an occupational therapist by training, but really and truly sort of what brought me into this was first family, then friends, then curiosity. So I am intensely curious about how brains work. And so over the course of my life and career, I've worked with people with developmental disabilities, people with autism, people who've had strokes, people who had brain damage due to head injuries, whether it was fractures or horrible things have happened to them. They came out of coma and came back, and working with people living with dementia and other kinds of brain differences. And so for me, figuring out how someone sees the world, hears the world, understands the world, and moves through the world is something that once I get that, it's like, oh, well, that's why they're doing what they're doing. Oh, that's what's working. That's what's not working. And so it gives me an insight and an opportunity to try things differently than people tend to do them when somebody's living with dementia. So I don't think people have behaviors. I think what they do is express distress. They try to communicate. They're trying to figure out the world. They're trying to do something. And so my role is to be curious about what's going on, what's working for them, what's not, what emotion they're trying to tell me about, or what need they're trying to express. And so for me, helping other people figure out how to do that is really essential, because I can't be everywhere doing everything for everyone, and I'm not a good match for everybody. But what happens is when we learn to look at things and do things and try things a little differently, the world changes. And that's really what's exciting for me. And that's really what Pam's up to doing with Forget Me Not Village, is changing the world of dementia care as it exists.
Yeah, and clearly you're having an impact. I mean, that must be very satisfying.
It is great because, I mean, when I first started, people didn't even ever talk about positive things about dementia. And we have people who really do see there are things when someone's developing dementia, there are things you can do that make a difference. No, I can't fix the disease. No, I can't cure it. But I can make life different for me and for the person I'm trying to help. And like a whole community actually can change if we all decide we're going to look at this differently. We're going to try something. But it does take commitment. It's not an easy road.
Well, how long have you been doing this now?
So I have been an occupational therapist for 40 years. So I've been working with people living with dementia and trying to change things and helping people change things for over 40 years professionally. But before that, there was my grandfather, there was my grandma on the other side. There was a mother-in-law. And so like, it's been a while in the making. I mean, it's taken a long time. And I started off in developmental disabilities as well. So it's like a twofold story kind of thing.
Are you surprised at the demand?
Well, we always knew there was much more dementia than comes to the surface. It's sort of where we used to whisper about cancer. Now we whisper about dementia. Like, I think she has dementia. I think so-and-so, has, we aren't yet talking about something that happens to people's brains, a lot of people's brains. We know the numbers are going to really ramp up really soon as the baby boomers hit the critical age of 65, 75, 85, when we see numbers start really ramping up quickly. But we also have a lot of young onset out there. So I'm not surprised about numbers. I know many people are.
Yeah. Yeah, the early onset is what gets my attention. When Pam is talking to me, I think about my diet. I think about the things I do, and I just worry. I mean, and you have to start thinking about, now that you can think about those things and worry about them and then not make any changes. And then what do you have?
And that's what both Pam and I are about, is let's do something about what we know. I mean, no, I don't know how to keep you from getting dementia, but I do know that eating red meat multiple times a day is not a good plan. I know that being really sedentary is not a good plan. I don't care what your gene pool is. I know that drinking heavily or not socializing at all, I know those are not really good plans for a brain that you want to keep healthy. So, there are things we can choose to do that buy us time, decrease our risk, not necessarily stop the disease. And even if I don't get dementia, but I'm called upon to be a care partner for someone who does, my husband, a good friend, if I have a child that has Down syndrome, there is a probability that I might be asked to be, once again, someone who's providing support and care. And people don't even talk about that one. It's real.
Sure. Well, let's talk about Pam a little bit. Let's talk about maybe the first time you met her. What struck you about her? What makes her different than some of the other people that you are able to interact with?
So Pam is passionate. She's also incredibly committed to doing what her heart and her brain tell her are the right thing to do, no matter the personal cost. And so I met her at a conference, at the end of a conference. There she is. Yeah. At the end of a conference where I did a program, and she came up and she asked me, so she was in line with a bunch of other folks. She asked me questions about a situation. What did I think? And it was like, ooh, that situation it sounds like it might be a different kind of dementia. I think maybe people are missing something that's really important. And I mean, we had a short conversation, and then things changed dramatically. I mean, she was like, aha. And so once she got it, like, I don't know whether this is kind or this is just true, bit in your teeth. She got the bit in her teeth, and it was like, yes, okay, now I know what I can try. Now what I know I can say to people. That's what I can push forward. That's what I want to find out. And she has a lot of curiosity too. So that's the first time.
Well, we've got her on finally, and so here we are. I know that sometimes technology can be a real pain there, Pam, but we're glad you're here. This show would not have been nearly as much fun if you weren't in the
I think you were doing great.
Pam, how would you introduce Teepa Snow? What has she meant to you?
Oh, don't go there. Don't you dare.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we don't want you to cry in the first 2 minutes of being on your own program.
When I first met her and we talked about what was going on with Rich, I felt like a groupie, because then I was always following around and taking classes and doing everything I could think of, because this woman walks on water as far as I'm concerned. She's just totally amazing.
I know where the rocks are. I know where the rocks are, Pam. I know exactly where the rocks are. That's how I make it look like that.
But if it hadn't been for her, Rich would have been dead, within 2 weeks after he was in that care home. And she has been, the home is being built in her honor, for sure. She's helped me with the design. She's encouraged me along the way. She's just done absolutely incredible. What can I say? She is the authority. I still hang on every word. And I often thought, if I could just crawl in her brain for a little while, but I think I'd get beaten up if I did that.
Well, we just touched a little bit about Teepa's background, and then pretty much to the point where the two of you have met and now collaborated quite a bit. Teepa, I know that the way that you are including Pam in some of the educational things that you're doing means the world to Pam, and it helps with her big project with the Forget Me Not Village. And from everything I've heard, this is a very unique approach to dementia care. Why don't you talk about your take on what's happening with Forget Me Not Village?
If you ask families who are limited in abilities to provide support and care, I mean, they do their very best, but they'll get to a place where, I don't know, I can't do this on my own anymore. I just can't. I've reached the limit. They will tell you the day they place someone in a facility is the hardest day. I mean, for many people, it is the doggonest hardest day, no matter how many years go on. It's that feeling that you're betraying the person, a feeling that you're betraying a trust, a feeling that you're giving up something that you don't really want to give up. You just need help. You need support. You don't know what else to try. And so what Pam's design is a way for people not to have to give up, but to build up and to expand and to offer opportunities for others to be part of life, but at the same time to not give over something that you've always honored, respected, and value yourself. So you don't want to, you're not checking somebody at the door and walking away. That's not who this program is for. It really is a program of continued involvement, continued wanting to be part of life for someone who's living with dementia.
And we're seeing the really people around the world taking note. And what's amazing to me is that this is happening in our backyard here in Roseburg. I mean, it's really something.
It really is remarkable. It is really a unique setting because Pam didn't move this into a big city, or into a major age area where she's really looking at who are the people who live here who would want to be here and want to continue to be part of this community. People who are farmers, people who are small town people, people who've cooked and done things in the kitchen for their whole life. And yet being alone in trying to do that, or doing that with just one person, or even within a family, it's overwhelming because you're no longer part of a community. And this is building a community that provides those opportunities for me. I mean, that's what I see that's truly unique about it.
And we've talked about isolation and the damage it does. We've talked about, and people now are getting a taste of that who don't have any tie to dementia. The isolation is awful. And you talk to nursing homes, even the best ones, isolation and the lack of activities is just terrible. And this, from the things I've learned from Pam, oftentimes dementia creates isolation when in normal times. And that isolation can be extremely, extremely devastating.
Well, and the thing that many people don't realize is that you may start with dementia, but in addition, if you aren't getting what you like, want, or need, you develop depression. And if you're not getting what you like, want, or need, you develop anxiety. And then anxiety and depression create chemical mixes in your brain that cause your brain to work less well. And so this is sort of a spiraling out of control. And then we have something happen and you end up with a delirium. And now not only are you isolated, we're going to send you to an acute care place where nobody knows you, nobody understands what's going on with you, doesn't know your story, your history. They just want to try to fix the one thing. And there isn't a one thing. Everything's sort of wrong. And so then we start trying to add medications on top to put something, I don't know, cover up something so we can not have to deal with it so well. And this program is not meant to cover things up. It's meant to lift things up, including the people that are living there.
Pam, I mean, she's describing your very story, isn't she?
Yeah, she sure is. She sure is. You know, when you've been married 40 years and more, and they tell you, bring his favorite things so he can remember you. And then you go home and there's nothing there. And he's alive, but you can't feel him. You can't touch him. You can't go see him now. It's like rips your heart out. And it's, all you need is help. And that's what I kept saying through all these years. If I just had a little more help, I could do this. I could do this. If I just had more help so that I could go to the doctor, go to the store, or go to, have a little down me time, take a bath with bubbles in it for crying out loud or something like that. And what this does, it takes care of that gap that we're missing. And it's not just daycare stuff. It's 24/7 stuff. It's like in the middle of the night when they're hallucinating. It's like in the middle of the night when they get up and fall and you don't have a neighbor to call because it's 2 or 3 a.m. And then the financial part of it. Oh my God. it devastated me, absolutely devastated. At $15,000 a month, every month, month after month after month, I don't know anybody that can afford that. I truly don't. I mean, even if you got a lot of money, that still puts a big dent in those assets. And so we're just trying to face all of those problems that I had, just trying to face and solve them so that going forward, people are not financially devastated. Families can stay together. You don't necessarily have to lose the identity of being the spouse, because when the spouse is the caregiver, that's automatic conflict. Because as I found out with Rich, he never wanted me to change him, clean him, or any of those other things. And when I did, he would get upset because he didn't want me to do it. And it's been an amazing learning experience. And I have Teepa to thank for it. I keep learning every day. I mentor a Parkinson's group, and we're getting ready to start doing some exercises in the house. Anything I can do to help people, that's for darn sure. And, it's just, I'm not very patient. So this should have been done a long time ago, but I'm not stopping. People say, how do you get the energy? And I look at Teepa and I go, let me see, her day starts at 5 a.m. my time. And I know she keeps on going until, well, after 5 p.m. my time, and sometimes later. I mean, she's my idol. Are you kidding?
Yeah, you just got to have the right, you have to get line twice, apparently, in the wrong, that one line. And then you skip some other line. It was probably the makeup line. I skipped that one completely. I don't even have to worry about that one. That one's just not even on my agenda.
Well, I'm glad you have your agenda, because you've touched so many thousands and thousands of people and families, and educated them, helped them, and trained caregivers. And, I'm just really pleased that the college here, our UCC college, is willing to send their students for me to dementia train. And it's like, I'm trying to, I actually applied for a job at the hospital because I needed to do it for my CNA thing. And I said, when I was in there, I saw some things that could use some dementia training. I said, I would love to take your worst patients you've got and do some dementia training. And there was just dead silence at the other end of the line, but I meant that.
Well, there is so much stigma that people are like, and when we, a real simple thing, if I showed people a whole bunch of people that were living with dementia and maybe one person who was a convict, guess who they'd pick had dementia?
Yeah.
That's what is in people's minds when they see dementia. And it's like, each person is so unique, so different, and their journey is so different that if we don't have curiosity and we aren't really wanting to empower people, it really does make it hard. And families are not trained. It's sad that families do about 70 to 80% of all care, and they receive maybe 1% of all training.
Yeah.
That's wrong. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's
Pam,
funny because
sorry, I just wanted to say, while we have Teepa, what are the most important things that you wanted to make sure the people that would see this would know about either Forget Me Not Village, the training from Teepa? What's the most important thing you want to make sure people take away from this conversation today?
That there is help out there. If it's not from me, it's from Teepa and her website. She has support groups. She has, one-on-one communication if you need it. It's the place to go. And I didn't know that until after I met Teepa. So what I'm trying to do is get that information out. I attended a conference last week called Coping with Dementia, which was an amazing conference. And she too has got support groups and things that she has. So, there's a lot of information out there. And we all need to be educated a little bit more, because we just don't ever seem to have enough of it. And when I first met Teepa, and she told me that there was 1 out of every 4 individuals either has dementia that they know even their family, or they know very well. And I think it's down to 1 out of every 3 now is what I'm understanding. Is that true, Teepa?
Yeah. After the age of 65, we're starting to look around. The reality is a lot of people's brains change because you've lived 65 years and you've done stuff, and you started with a gene code. And what we know is we're really concerned about post-COVID.
Yeah.
Because guess what? COVID crosses the blood-brain barrier. And one of its risks is it has an impact in the deep brain. And what we're talking about is people who are long haulers, but we don't know what the long-term significance of COVID is. And so I think what we're possibly looking at is, yikes, we may have greater need for this kind of awareness than we've ever had. Because the number of people post-COVID say, I am so fuzzy. I'm 6 months out and I still can't think like I used to. I can't hold things in my mind. I get really frustrated easily. I'm struggling to find words that I didn't used to have that happen. And what I'll tell you is, often people say, well, you're still recovering. It's like, yeah, maybe, but maybe we should be talking more significantly. Let's look at what your baseline is here then. And let's keep looking at it over time. Let's do some things that are promotion, health promotion, brain promotion. Let's not just let you sit alone, because that's not helping. Let's do some things that we think could help. So this is not just about old people, and this isn't just about established dementias. This is about people who might be at risk that we want to get smarter about, including us.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Pam, what's the update, or what can you say about Forget Me Not Village itself on the process? Right now, we're still fundraising, still looking for support. There's a little over $1 million that needs to happen for this to happen here in Roseburg. I'm making your pitch for you. But also, I know other places are almost maybe even ahead of where we're at. And I know you've been at this for quite a long time. So what's kind of a project update for folks?
Well, there's nobody that I know of that's at this at all. And I'm still out there trying to convince people that don't ignore it. It could happen to you, and you want to have something done before you need it, kind of scenario, which is true. Because by the time I started, when Rich was alive, well, guess what? He's been dead 2.5 years, and, we're still kind of stuck in the mud. We've raised about $710,000 at this point, which I think is pretty good for a little old Roseburg, Oregon. We have only the Alzheimer's Foundation endorsed us. They gave us $6,000 of that. But the rest came from the community. It came from the people pulling together to get this thing built. And we need about $1 million more in order to get it completed. But that's just the first 2 buildings. The second building is for the veterans, as I deal with the post-traumatic stress, and what the barn is going to help with the animal therapy and that type of thing. Our veterans out here, my gosh, the homeless is a horrible situation we have here. And then the individual care home, for people that lose their partner and want to stay in the village. So, it's an ongoing thing that we're working on. I know we're going to be successful. Like I said, I'm not very patient, but I know that, when people understand, I'm terrible about that. I know, when people really see the need, because it hits a home a little too soon, and it's not like it should be put in a closet. It's not leprosy. It's just a problem. That, the brain is dying, and why not keep the family together? Why not keeping the love together? Why not keeping the relationships together? And thanks to Teepa, that's exactly what happened with Rich and my family. At the very end, when everything was falling apart and they didn't want to come see him because they didn't know if he was going to be violent or what would happen, I was able to change their outlook. And they came by and they visited him. We actually went on vacation together, which I don't advise, but it was amazing. It was a lot of fun. He tried to fight the elevator mirrors, but they're all covered in my house. But it was fun. The kids had great memories, and I was able to do it because of the education that I received. Had I had help, it would have been even better yet. It would have been wonderful. But yeah, it's getting people to understand the urgency that we're going to have. It's not going to be 1 out of every 3. Like Teepa said, we've got COVID thrown in there. So are we looking at like 1 out of every 2 here pretty soon?
We don't know. But we know that the risk is there. We lost a lot of people through COVID. Older adults with dementia already. Young people who have multiple illnesses. But we have a lot of people who survived it. And we don't know the long-term impact there. But we do know we are getting older.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Right there for sure. Not to, minimize what you just said at all. No. So I wanted to send people to forgetmenotVillage.com and the Forget Me Not Village channel on YouTube, because there's a video there and Pam's backstory, the story about Pam and Rich, how Forget Me Not Village came to be, Pam's connection or Teepa's connection to Pam, Pam's connection to Teepa, a little bit about their relationship, but also a video that explains it, including the schematics, the blueprints, some drawings of what Pam's vision is. It's very important that we send as many people as possible to that site to see that video, because the right person out there could probably, maybe even cover the expense of the whole darn thing by themselves. But it's going to take a lot of people working together on a lot of levels here to make this happen. And I know it's a passion that Pam's had for a long time, and it's been fueled by everything she's learned from Teepa. And Pam now is an instructor in dementia care and is a pretty outstanding one, and is now trying to have the impact Teepa has had with people, and you mentioned it earlier, Teepa, and then I'll stop talking and Pam can say something. When you talked about wanting to change, you said something about changing the world for individual people. And when you are able to make a difference in one person's life, you literally are changing the world because you're changing their world.
That's
yeah. Yeah. When we're willing to make a change, everything changes, because we are part of that which makes things happen. And we tend to forget, we feel powerless, and that's not true. So when we feel that we have the power to make a difference, we make a difference. That's just how it works. And when I go, hey, I'm Teepa, sounds like you're having a hard time. Tell me about it.
I am. I can't get on the internet.
Yeah. And then you go, wow, that's not good. I mean, I hate that for you because you really want to be here. Oh, man. Oh, and it's so frustrating because you did something and it didn't work. You were trying so hard. Oh, man, that was really miserable. And Brian was trying to help. It was a good thing we had a backup plan to sort of like go ahead and get started and see if in the background Brian could help some more and you could get some help, and I'll sort of talk until you figure it out, because we'll make it work.
Yeah, and we did, thankfully. Obviously, thankfully.
There's hope for old people, right?
We all just pull together when we need to, right?
Makes a team.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A few final thoughts here. Our time is kind of winding up already. I know how fast that goes. We are on Facebook and on YouTube when we do these live, and part of the idea here is for people who come across this video to share it with others. We know that not everybody can meet at 2:00 on a Thursday to be on the live broadcast, but it would be fantastic. I know Pam would love it if a few more people knew about, not necessarily knew about the Forget Me Not Village home, which is fantastic, the Forget Me Not Village itself. But I know Pam well enough, and I'm known about Teepa well enough to know that one more person who gets educated about dementia care and the options that are available, as opposed to some of the things that you may hear about or read about, there's a different way to go about helping your loved one through dementia. And I know if one more person found out about that through this, I think both of you would consider that a win, right?
Oh, absolutely. For sure. Yeah, for sure.
What couple final thoughts here, Pam, just on Teepa and the village, or just kind of what are you thinking about?
Me? What am I thinking about?
Yeah, you get that one first. It's a softball.
Well, as soon as I get off here, I'm going to look up all my passwords and put them all in one spot, so I don't have to look all over this book that's been lined out all over the place. That's right there, right on the top there. How
about this? Here, I'll make it easier for you. What's your schedule like in the next couple of weeks? Tell us about your current effort to get out there, and the invitations possibly that you've also been given to talk to people.
COVID and Zoom has just made the information absolutely incredible out there. I mean, there's some Parkinson's conferences. There's some more Dementia Alliance conferences. I mean, there's a lot of things out there that give more and more information, what the progress is and what we can do and what we can learn. For me, like I mentioned, I work with people with Parkinson's, and we try and meet once a week here at the house, and we watch different informational videos from the Parkinson's Association, and just try to get out there and talk to business people, and the whole 9 yards is what's up for this week. So it's kind of like an easy week. Last week was a little tougher because I was a speaker at the, for the senior advisory. Hold on. All right, Sydney's going to kill me.
Was that the one in Arizona?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was down in Arizona last week talking about the village, and looks like we might be putting one up down there. And there's a lady up in Wisconsin that's working to put one up in there, and, you know, just all over the country. So I feel like a centipede. So I go from here to here to here to here. You know, I'm great as long as I put my password in.
Well, we'll teach you how to use the Google Save Password option on your browser, and that'll help everyone involved. Teepa, what about you? A few final thoughts here about this project, or about Pam, or just things in general for dementia care, a message going out to people that might need to hear it.
I think if COVID has done anything good, it's to get us to look harder at where we're placing people that we care about, and when we place them in a place that we have no access, and we feel that sense of this is not right, but we don't have anything to do, we don't know a way around it, it really raises up for us the need for another option, which isn't I do it all on my own, or I turn it over and then I become a visitor. But this is an option, and I think more and more families are looking for an option where I do what's right for me. I do what's a good fit for my person. I do what's a good match. But there are people around who are going to embrace our family and help our family through this, and are going to really enjoy doing that, because that's what they love to do. Because some people are made to be care providers of people living with dementia and families. And some folks, that's not their stick. They have other things they do well. And so we all need to figure out how to come together to make something wonderful happen.
Well, you can learn a lot more from Teepa Snow at teepasnow.com, as we've shown you throughout this streamcast. We obviously would love for you to visit forgetmenotvillage.org to see the plans and the video like we were just talking about a moment ago. Maybe some of you have already found Forget Me Not Village on YouTube, but we want to direct you that direction as well. And when you go to forgetmenotVillage.org, you can learn more about the project. You can volunteer or donate as well, which we would love, because every bit gets us closer to having the Forget Me Not Village care home built here in Roseburg and helping people from all over. And if you want to get a hold of Pam, her email address is on the screen right now, pam@forgetmenotVillage.org. We did have quite a few comments that popped in here. You'll have to probably go back and watch those or read those on Facebook. And as people make more comments and reach out to both of you, we will be very happy that they may have caught wind of your expertise through this effort. So Pam and Teepa, thank you so much. And Teepa, thank you for your time. I know Pam appreciates it too, but I don't think I have to speak for Pam.
Of course I appreciate it. Will you do it again for us in a little while?
I'd love to. Sure.
That'd be awesome. That would be really great.
Great.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend.
Deep breath.
You're always in my prayers.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Forget Me Not Village Streamcast. I'm Brian Prowitz. Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate your time and your interest in this. Once again, head on over to forgetmenotVillage.org very soon and check out what's happening, and check back often to both this Facebook page and to YouTube as well. And we will see you again very soon on the Forget Me Not Village Streamcast.